First of all, welcome back to Animaking 2. And I just want to say that I'll be redoing What If Naruto Got the First Original Dojutsu, so yes, I'll be redoing that, guys. But also I got a comment some time ago, which had led into a full conversation which led to a different perspective, as you can see from the title. Taking away Naruto's naive personality in certain areas, making him react how a normal person would in certain different perspective, and see just how much better of a ninja he would be and how much more powerful he would be if he had the personal maintenance and the personal understanding of a person like us, a normal human being, without the naivete of being the hero, without the naivete of being the Hokage. Just how much would that change him? Well, I'm gonna be giving your idea a try. I know it's been a while, but yeah. Thank you for sticking it out if you're still here, and I hope you enjoy it. So yeah, let us begin this new series. Begin now, guys. Insanity. It was a perfect example. That was the thought going through a blonde-haired boy at the moment as he was seated on the highest platform that he could reach. A monument that shows celebration to all of their former leaders. The definition, a saying, to do something over and over and over and over again. Yet you expect a different result by doing the exact same thing. Wasn't that the definition of being crazy, moronic, naive, stupid? There were so many. He sat there. He was 8 years old, but he wasn't your average 8-year-old child. He was special in more ways than one. At first, he thought there was a way to change it. At first, he thought there was a way to find a solution, but he did the same thing over and over again. Being the polite one, being the nice one, being the one to put things aside. But then he realized it wasn't working. Those eyes, the way they looked at him, they see him as a monster. They whisper words behind his back. It hurt him every single time. And through that pain he realized he could never count on any of them. He had a foolish desire to change everything by one day being their leader. One day showing them that he was a better person than they thought. But why would they ever even stand to elect someone like him? And why should he change himself for their feelings? Why should he change everything about himself just because they did not like him? He never did anything to them. He never harmed them. He never hurt them. Yet, they always looked at him the same way. His name was Naruto Uzumaki. And the first few years of his life, they've been nothing but hell. Naruto was not a bad person. He did not seek death or destruction. He did not seek to harm anyone. He did not seek to hurt anyone. He was a child that don't truly understand when he was younger. However, things are different now. He heard a saying once, with knowledge, there is power. He knew that he lacked the physical attributes to actually win in most fights. He wasn't that big. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't special. He did not hail from any of the special clans. His last name, Uzumaki, Doesn't seem to be anything special whatsoever. He's never heard of a Uzumaki clan. He did not know his parents. He didn't have anything special about him. No special eyes, no special abilities, nothing at all. However, there was knowledge. There was something else that he could use. It wasn't hard to see there was some complications that led to his birth. He was born on October the 10th. And on that day, every single day, he could know when it was his birthday because there was a celebration. A celebration for the victorious defeat of the nine-tailed fox by the fourth Hokage. The man who hailed as one of the best Hokages to ever come from this village. He died in the process of defeating the fox. It was on the same day that his birthday was. He always found that rather strange. Naive as he was back then, he didn't put two and two together. But now, it was so clear. At first, it scared him. He believed that he was somehow the monster, a part of it, something to do with it. However, it wasn't until he heard something from one of his teachers, Aruka Mino, when he mentioned a seal. A seal could be used to store an item inside of something. He asked if a seal is only able to go on paper and he was told no. He went to the library. He went to anywhere that he could get information. He then had to check. How would he bring that seal forward though? He remembered what Aruka did, applying the chakra to store the kunai in the scroll. He scanned himself, applying chakra to the best of his knowledge. His chakra was hard to control. He seen and noticed that. It was then that he found it, on his stomach, a giant seal in array. It scared the living crap out of him. But he knew, it all made sense. Somehow, the nine tails was inside of him. How or why did this happen he did not know to this day. But the beast was there. He was certain about that. He doubted that anyone else had a seal on their goddamn stomach. But why? Out of everyone else, the adults, the grown-ups, why was he given this burden? And why didn't he have anything to support him with it? No parents, no friends, no brothers, no sisters. He was alone most of the time. And he was given such a heavy burden. Has he wronged them in some way? Has he hurt them with his existence? Has he done something for them to condemn him to a fate like this? He was sure that all the adults are quite aware. But he was also certain that the old man that had presented himself to him as the leader of this village, the Hokage, had something to do about this. The children did not know. If he was so much of a problem and so much of a threat, he would have been more isolated, which led him to believe that there was some law, some action, some gag order in place to prevent the adults from telling the kids. The kids were naive, as he once were. He tried his best to manipulate their words, and for that he got the crap beaten out of him by targeting bullies that were twice his size and much older than him. He tried to anger them for them to say it, but they did not know. They did not know why. Their parents told them to stay away, but they did not know why. And the only one that possessed the power to do something like this was the one that controlled it all. So all that kindness, all that grandfatherly love, everything, it seemed to be a way to contain him, a way to control him, a way to manipulate him to believe that everything was okay, to keep him naive, to keep him dim-witted, to keep him a fool. And he was sick of it. He was tired of the lies, tired of the mistreatment, tired of the hate, a hate that he did not deserve. He was simply tired of it all. Meanwhile that was going on, residing in his office, He had a strange ball in front of him, observing it. You could see a clear image of Naruto, seated on top of the monument. It might seem strange that he was watching the child, but there was a reason for that. As stated before, Naruto was indeed very special, and you had to be very careful around him. So when his attitude did a complete 180, Hiruzen had taken drastic steps. When Naruto first joined the academy, when he just turned 6 years old, he was bright, open. However, a few months after that, he started to close up. He started to go quiet. Aruka Mino had say that his behavior was completely different, like a completely different person. He had taken a change, a drastic change. He barely speak if you did not ask him a question. He did not maintain eye contact for too long, and he always seemed to be lost in his own thoughts. He did not stay at the school after. He usually stayed there, trying his best to make friends, but now he simply leave. You would either find him on the top of the monument or nearby the forest area. Hiruzen was not quite sure what happened or what was going on. Could the boy have somehow found out secrets about himself? Hiruzen had to admit that he wasn't as involved in the child life as he wanted to be. However, if he did not go to Naruto's home and give him the monthly stipend, he would not see him. And even then, Naruto did not ask questions. Usually there was always something. Him asking about his parents or something. Hiruzen always misleading him, but now he was simply quiet, accepting it, and not really doing much other than that, which was causing Hiruzen to worry about the future and about Naruto as well. Due to everything that has taken place since the 90s attack, he found himself preoccupied, busy most of the times. And he found himself ignoring certain things and not taking certain things into effect. And Naruto was one of them. But now, he wanted to resolve that, to find out what caused this big change, to understand it, and perhaps even fix it as well. However, he was unaware that he was too late. Time skip. We find Naruto seated within the library. Even the clerk there looked at him that way as well, but Naruto did not care. He had a large old book, as there was a picture there of a man, blonde hair and blue eyes, with a smile on his face. Naruto has been questioning, why him of all people? Why? The thought was so crazy that he believed that he was insane of even thinking of it. I mean, how could a child of a Hokage receive this kind of treatment? That would be insane. No, that would be downright crazy. Yet, he couldn't help but fixate on the similar features, the hair and the eyes. Yes, there was other blondes in the village, but why? Why did it make so much sense? If that was the truth, then there was three things that came to his mind. Either the Hokage was a good-for-nothing bastard that used him as a vessel and simply died afterwards, or there was a special reason why he was used, why he was chosen. Or the third one, he did so in order to save the village, because the beast could not be killed, it could only be sealed away. And which Hokage would put their own happiness in front of the village? Thousands of people's safety. So the best thing was to use their own child. That was the best thing, huh? Naruto got himself so riled up and angry that he slammed his fist on the table, drawing the attention of others. He quickly reined that anger in. He did not care if the man did so to protect the village. So you would condemn your own child, knowing that the situation would be so drastic that you might even die, leaving him alone without anyone to protect him. His mind flashed back to his earlier days in the orphanage, and his rage bubbled even more. However, he took a deep breath and calmed himself. as he gazed at the book and flipped through, going straight back to the first Hokage of this village. As Naruto read, trying to calm his mind, he found something rather shocking. The man's wife. Strange enough, they have never gone over the partners of their former Hokages. Naruto blinked in shock when he saw the name. Mito Uzumaki? Naruto spent the next few hours searching for anything that he could. Anything, any small detail that linked to the Uzumakis. He had write it off because he believed that he didn't come from a clan, that he was nothing special. Could this be his heritage? But no, she would have been too old to be his mother. Then again, if she had a child. After a couple hours of scanning, Naruto found shocking news. The information was small and spacious, but the Uzumakis were indeed a clan that was tied to Konoha. Then why? Why the hell was he here? Why wasn't he with his clansmen, like the others? Dark thoughts started to travel through his mind. Perhaps he was being held here because he could contain the Nine Tails because he's a Uzumaki. There were certain scenarios that would not put a favorable eye to the Hokage and anyone here. Hours of trying to find anything until he was told to leave because they were going to be closing up. But there wasn't much, but at least he knew a lot more than he knew before. Time skip. Naruto hid in the bushes, observing, watching. Trees were being splintered. He watched the man as he fought, trained. These kind of things were crazy. However, as the man made his way off, he dropped something. Naruto waited until he was gone before making his way over as he picked up the book. In the trees watching was a green-clad Jonin. His name was Might Guy. Guy was a very caring and compassionate person, having understand what it felt like to be left out of most things. Most people believe that his father was a failure due to him remaining a genin until the end of his life. However, in the end, he made the ultimate sacrifice to protect the ones that he cared about, and Guy would respect him no matter what. As for him, not blessed with any special attributes, people looking down on him, but he spent day in and day out training constantly to get better. Thus, as he found someone spying on him, he decided not to intervene. He wanted to see what they were doing, eventually following the boy back to where he was going. Guy watched as the child was trying to train. His features somehow looked familiar. He would find out later on why. As Guy recognized that the boy's form was sloppy, he had no idea what he was doing. So that is why he decided to help him out without showing that he was actually helping him out. These children were supposed to be within the academy, training and getting better for their Jonin sensei. However, he would have loved to have someone like him to be there when he was younger to help him. That is why, in the flashback, Guy dropped the book as Naruto found it. Naruto immediately realized that the man was aware that he was there. There was a high percentage chance, after all, he was a Jonin level ninja. However, this wasn't a coincidence. Naruto had learned things like that wasn't so easy. However, a book like this was not something that he could get to due to the restrictions. It was physical. As Naruto skimmed over everything that was rather surprising for his training, he decided to put in the work. Even within class, under the table Naruto's hand was squeezing a grip strength trainer as he had bought it. Naruto had to make sure that his life of living was balanced. Yes, he came to favor ramen It was very delicious, but it was affecting many things. His growth, his nutritious, element was off, badly. The first time Naruto ventured into one of the deep forests, it was late in the night. We find Naruto lying against a tree. He was all scratched up. In front of him was a wild hog, as it was dead. In his left hand was a kunai, but it was not shiny or pretty of the kind. It was rusty. He'd actually found it. He could not buy weapons. He was too young, and they would not sell to him. Naruto decided that it was better that he save to buy his equipments that he would use. The grip strength trainer was one of them that he bought. He had 3 books in his bag. We later see Naruto sitting down. He was used to catching fish, but this was different. Naruto picked up one of the sticks with the meat cooking on it as he bit down. The next moment he threw it back up. He seemed to have done something horribly wrong. And it will take a time. Days pass and days turn into weeks. He got better, but he wasn't any master chef or anything. He went hunting for food. He used the environment to his advantage. It took a while. Before that though, he got the shit beaten out of him by the animals that he was hunting after. He got scrapes, cuts. It was bad most times. But the more time passed, he learned. He adapted. He was able to save up quite a lot of money. Naruto observed something rather exciting to learn: the transformation jutsu. However, as he stood and transformed right into the mirror, he found himself looking disheveled and not like a real person, cursing at his luck what the hell he was doing wrong. Naruto decided to make his way to the library. He had to do something. He saw the book that was needed, but things weren't going to be that easy. Naruto was inside as he had a rock in his hand, a decent sized rock as he threw it up and down. The next moment he threw it, it crashed into the light, breaking it, drawing the attention. With speed, as fast as he could go, Naruto ran towards the restricted area. He has mapped it out in his mind. 20 seconds it would take to move from the decks to the restricted area. However, given where he had the nearest light to break, it will take 15. His eyes skimmed over everything. As Naruto looked over, he grabbed 3 books before quickly making his way back. He plastered down the normal books on top of it. A man came walking by with a broken piece of shards. He gazed towards Naruto before turning away. Later that day, we find Naruto. He was within the forest area. After some thinking and some reading, it seems like he found out what his problem was. He possessed too much chakra. The feeling that he got was correct from what he read in the book. The sensation of overwhelming. So now, he had to learn how to isolate that. He had to learn how to properly use his chakra like a funnel, and chakra passing through to the necessary areas. But without that funnel, it will be blazing out and there would be no controlling it. Naruto spent the next couple of months trying his best to do that. He found it rather difficult, but with time and with practice, perfect was there. Constantly, Naruto worked on nothing else. He eat, he sleep, exercise, focus on his chakra. Eat, sleep, exercise, focus on his chakra. It might seem repetitive and boring, but it was something that he had to do. Again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Doing so cut him off from most things, as he tended to isolate himself, not making friends and not really speaking too much. While there were conversations in the class, but other than that there wasn't any. Naruto went on and on and on and on and on and on again. Time skip. Thank you so much. A dark-haired, dark-eyed man said, dressed in a black and grey clothing. The shopkeep nodded towards him as the man left. Making his way, he headed straight towards the forest era before taking a turn. Being alone and isolated there, he proceeded to sit down. He unraveled what he had bought. It was training equipments. Weights. Yes, body weights. There wasn't much of it, but it should be enough. He had to drop them off. They were heavy, and Naruto did not possess the physical strength to carry them all the way out here, so one by one he brought them down. He got the straps that were needed as he proceeded to strap them to himself. Alright, let's do this. He fell flat on his face. Ow, Naruto said. As he forcefully pulled himself up, he could barely move, having no prior knowledge of ever using this or ever doing something like this. It was insanely difficult. He spent the next couple of hours trying to move. He was successful, but there wasn't much that he could do. But Naruto was repetitive, and for the next year, he focused on building strength, building body mass, building more structure, and from the book that he had gotten, Naruto learned that his form was terrible. He questioned himself what the hell the academy was actually teaching them, because nothing in the academy seemed to be actually useful. None of this would actually help them in the outside world. Pathetic. The more time passed, the more cynically he got of a couple of things around him. Certain people and certain things that seemed to anger him at first, now plainly piss him off to no end. Naruto continued to train. He continued to push himself over and over. For 1 year straight, Naruto worked on the weights, building his strength, building his speed. Behind the scenes, in front, everyone believed that he was the same, that there wasn't anything special going on. However, he started to wear more baggy clothing due to his change that was taking place, and it started to become rather visible, well, without the clothing. While that was going on, Hiruzen Sarutobi was observing Naruto. He had seen the things that Naruto has been doing. While most of them weren't that bad, he saw Naruto buying weights. Observing the boy, he found out that he was training. Could that be the cause of his change? Hiruzen did not want to do anything that would push the boy back into a sense of solitude. He recently had a conversation with him, but just like before, did not go that far, but at least the boy was comfortable in talking to him. Perhaps there was just something that the boy was trying to work out on his own, trying to be better, pressured by the knowing fact that he would become a ninja to be out there on the field, facing off against enemies. Hiruzen was being hopeful in this situation, as he continued to monitor Naruto. With his job of being the Hokage, he had to use his time wisely, otherwise his day would be eaten up by meetings and all of that. So yes, he was trying his best. Soon enough, there would be the graduation ceremony, as Naruto and the others would be graduating from the academy. Time skip. Naruto could not do it. It didn't matter how hard he tried. It didn't matter how much he practiced. He simply could not produce a small amount of chakra enough to summon a clone. The clone jutsu requires a small amount of chakra. His control had gotten better. He didn't say that it was perfect, but it had gotten better. A lot better. Yet he still could not do it, and it was angering him to no end. He found himself unable to think past what was going to take place, because it turns out that he needed that to pass. He fooled himself, being delusional enough to believe that with all of his hard work, he would be able to somehow pass on this final day. However, he was disappointed when he failed the goddamn exam. He failed. Yes, you heard that right, he failed. After everything, he failed because of this stupid clone jutsu that he could not do. What was the point? Constantly pushing himself, training to get better. if he lacked the necessary control to actually pull off the clone jutsu. Each time they would appear deformed or out of control something. He found himself sitting alone when a miracle happened. His assistant teacher, Mizuki, came to him with a proposition, a way for him to pass the test. Curiosity ensued. However, Naruto was shocked to how stupid this man think that he was. The man was going to give him a test for him to steal something. That just sounded wrong. Something was at play here. However, he said that it was a forbidden scroll. Naruto weighed his options. An idea struck up in his mind. Something that he had created. Something that he had formed just to, well, goof off to a sense. Time skip. Using that ridiculous jutsu on the Hokage actually paid off. As stern as the man tried to act, him like many others were perverts. As Naruto used the sexy jutsu on him and stole the forbidden scroll. He had his reasons why he stole the scroll. Simple. Naruto wanted to learn what was inside. And when he was caught, because he knew that he would be caught, he would blame it all on Mizuki, the man that told him to do it. After all, he was just a foolish, naive child. This was perfect. Naruto left with the scroll and found himself at the location. He also was curious about what Mizuki was planning, and he had to be prepared. That is why he brought the weapons with him. The weapons that he was able to buy due to the transformation jutsu. When Naruto unraveled the scroll, he was shocked. Truly so, by all that he has come to witness. As he gazed over it with a critical gaze, he flipped through it, remembering what Mizuki had said, which was obviously a lie. As he came across the first technique, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto was shocked. There was another variant of the Shadow Clone. This one, a substance clone. Actual physical form. Interesting, he thought to himself. Naruto started to lift his shirt to show the undershirt that he was wearing as he reached underneath it and pulled something out. A large piece of paper. A very large one. He came prepared just in case. He started to write down several beyond the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Things that seemed difficult and downright impossible, as he wrote them down one after another. Once he was satisfied, he stored it away and decided to focus on the Shadow Clone Jutsu, right here and now. Surprisingly, due to his vigorous training, it did not take him that long. That meant Naruto skipped past, looking for something rather powerful and defensive. That is when he came across the Swift Wind Wall, an A-rank technique. However, after 30 minutes, Naruto realized this was much more difficult. When it came to his mind, he summoned a clone and had the clone run to the bushes. It then dispelled itself. A smirk graced Naruto's features. He was right. He summoned over 20 clones. As they came together, he only had around 75 minutes left. Mizuki told him that this so-called new test would be 1 hour and 45 minutes. Thus, Naruto got to work. After 1 hour, he dispelled every clone, but that was a problem. He gripped his skull as he collapsed down to the ground. Too much. Too much. As he fight off the violent rush of information flooding back. He almost blacked out as he was struggling to remain intact. Naruto took several deep breaths. He lay there for the remainder of the couple of minutes, not really doing anything, just lying there. When he heard rustling after a couple of minutes, through the bushes, Naruto watched as someone jumped down. By sheer luck, Haruka blinked. Naruto, you're here. Before that, concerned look turned into anger. What the hell have you done? Why have you stolen the forbidden scroll? He yelled. Stolen? Naruto said, playing the fool. Mizuki sensei told me that there was an extra test and I should take the scroll in order to pass. I didn't steal anything, Naruto said. Due to Naruto never putting in the effort or trying to really bond with anyone, Haruka, while he wasn't like the others, he knew that Naruto was just struggling with a burden. There was no bond between them for them to see each other as more than just teacher and student. Haruka cared for all of his students and Naruto was in that category. There was nothing special, so it did not matter. Haruka would still fight for the boy no matter what. After all, he saw it as his responsibility. Everything dropped into place perfectly. It can't be. Haruka jumped away as he heard the sound. The Fuma shuriken ripping apart the area. As Mizuki landed, it would have been so easy if you just remained where you were. Now I'm gonna have to drag this out in a more painful way because I know you're not gonna make it easy. Are you, Haruka? What the hell are you doing? Haruka yelled. Isn't it obvious? I'm finally correcting some wrongs. Naruto, hand the scroll over. No, Naruto, no. He's a traitor. That scroll does not belong to him. Mizuki started to chuckle, believing that it was best to weaken Naruto's resolve. When Haruka heard what he proposed, he shouted at him, "Stop, it's a secret." And the big secret was revealed. Naruto pretended like he was hurt, pretended like he was shocked. He ran off into the bushes. Mizuki clashed with Haruka, which led to a chase. Naruto found himself coming to a stop. He did not run because he was afraid. Of course not. He was just trying something. He wanted to see something. After all, in their eyes, well, especially Mizuki, he was a demon, a monster. He should be able to convince Haruka. Naruto wanted to know that there was no hope left. That there was nothing left to protect within this village. There was no will of fire. Haruka was the first to land. "You're okay," he said. "I told you to run." As Haruka looked towards Naruto, when suddenly Mizuki landed. "Come on, Haruka. We both know that you can't defeat me. Give up." "Not without a fight," Haruka said, getting back to his feet. Mizuki smirked as the illusionary clone vanished. Haruka's eyes went wide as 3 kunais came from the bushes. He deflected 2 when one came at his side. It hit him. Mizuki dashed across the trees. He grabbed the Fuma shuriken and threw it towards Naruto's back. Naruto closed his eyes, feeling the weapon coming towards him. He was about to make his move. However, jumping in the way was none other than Haruka, taking the attack. The real Naruto was standing in the tree, having jumped up a long time ago, observing his clone and Mizuki. To see Haruka jump in the way, Naruto saw his lips. "Run away," he said. He risked his life to save him, willing to die. In that moment, Naruto realized that perhaps he was wrong about all of them. However, that didn't mean that every one of them was pure, like this traitor in front of him right now. Collapsing down to the ground, Haruka shouted for Naruto to run. Mizuki jumped down when suddenly the kick that slammed into his face launched him. He flipped and skidded, only to see blood drop on his hand, his nose. He looked up with anger. to see the real Naruto standing there. How the hell? Poof! The clone poofed away. I see. So you did learn something. A shame. You're not gonna have it for very long, he said. He ran forward. Mizuki was dashing towards him as Haruka shouted at Naruto to get out of there. But Naruto did not move an inch. He waited until Mizuki was close enough. That is when his hand shot up. Mizuki tried to stop himself, but it was too late. Wind style, said Naruto. Swift wind wall. Mizuki was sucked in as he started to be, violently rotated around Naruto. He could not stop himself. Naruto picked up the massive Fuma shuriken off the ground. His one hand still holding the technique. He could not hold this for more than 6 seconds. Naruto threw the shuriken. It went straight into the dome that was circulating around him. However, the problem for Mizuki was, it was going at the same rotation with his body. But the shuriken was thrown at the opposite side. That meant it slammed into him. The technique died down. Naruto was nowhere perfect, but at least he was able to pull it off. Mizuki collapsed down to his knees, the weapon boring through his back. He was bleeding from the mouth. He collapsed on his side, dead. Naruto stepped up towards the corpse and looked down towards it. His gaze was empty. He just looked down. He never killed anyone before. However, he was aware that becoming a ninja meant you had to kill, but he never actually killed anyone. Everything went by like a blur. The envoys, the medical team, everything. Haruka was still shocked by the whole scene and everything. Naruto was within the office. They were alone as Hiruzen was trying to speak to him, trying to talk to him. Haruka had spoke to him on what had taken place. Luckily, he wasn't that badly damaged to be knocked unconscious. So Hiruzen was standing there, trying to explain to Naruto what was right and what was wrong. Naruto looked up towards the man, and it was the first time Hiruzen saw Naruto's eyes like that. Something was definitely wrong. I killed someone, said Naruto. It's the first time I've ever done that, and it's really strange. You want to know what is strange? Naruto said. I hated it. I don't like to shed blood. I don't like to kill. I've psyched myself up over and over again, knowing that eventually I'll have to do things like that, but now this feeling is just terrible because I'm thinking that I snuffed someone's life out. They're no longer existing, they're gone. Yes, he was a monster, but that is the same that people are going to do to us as ninjas, trying to kill us. It seems I wasn't even thinking about the future that much. So, I'm really not in the mood to hear your lies. What Hiruzen said. I know. I've known for a long time now what I contained. I've known for a long time now that you've been lying to me every single day. You want to know what the messed up part of it all was? I always believed you before. There must be a reason. I even tried to justify why you lied. Perhaps it was my fault. I was a naive, talkative child back then, until I realized the truth. However, you're the leader of this village. It's your job to make sure that everyone is safe. It doesn't matter in which capacity. However, there is also suffering going on in this village, and I've seen that with my own eyes. I've never been physically hurt, However, sometimes I thought there was no point. I have no family, no ones that love and care about me. I got really low. I believe there was no point in going on. These things should not be on the mind of a child, and that is what I am, a child. A child who's just killed someone for the first time. And now you sit here lying to me again and again. I know that I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, just like I know that my father is Minato Namikaze. Hiruzen was taken aback. The look on his face was one of pure shock, unable to believe what he just heard from Naruto. Naruto, tell me, how much time have I begged you? Have I pleaded with you to tell me something about my parents? All you say is they died during the Nine-Tails attack. You made it seem like they never wanted me or even wanted the idea of me. You never said they loved me or they cared for me. You told me that that was their job. They did what was necessary to protect everyone, including me as well. Because that was the life of a ninja. But then I believed that there was something else. That they died without actually getting to know me, that there wasn't much love because I wasn't even born. I was a baby on that night. And now to realize that my father was the one that placed this monster inside of me. Tell me, what kind of excuse does he have? You must know, you're the leader after all. Why would he seal a beast that is capable of such mass destruction and chaos inside of his son, his child? Did he even care? And after which, I was abandoned. No mother, no father, nothing at all. I met you when I was 5 years old. There was nothing there. Other kids in the orphanage are same like me in the beginning, but unlike them, I didn't have the courtesy of ever being adopted. I didn't have the courtesy of being seen as a normal child. No, I am the pariah. I am the monster, the beast. And you knew this all along, Naruto said. During his rant, he got to his feet. And yet, you said nothing. Why? Not even a little bit of hope. Nothing at all. His rage got the better of him once again, as he threw his fist in the Hokage's stomach. Hiruzen did not fight the boy. Why? Naruto shouted. He attacked the Hokage once again. A very treasonous act, but Hiruzen simply reached out and grabbed Naruto. He cried. Naruto cried in anger and frustration. It took some time for him to settle down. Now, once again quiet. They were both seated there. His head was down as Hiruzen stood by him. Reaching for his pipe as he lighted up. The doctors told him that this would be the death of him, but in moments like these, screw it. I'm sorry, he said. For everything. For the fact that you suffer in silence, and I wasn't there for you to come to and talk to. For the fact that you could not trust me enough. No more lies. I'll give you the truth, he said. Naruto gazed towards the man. Yes, you're right. Your father is Minato Namikaze. When the beast attacked, there was many factors to take into consideration. For one thing, your parents loved you. I had no doubt about that. They cherished the moments that they had. I have no doubt in my mind and heart that they would have loved to see the young man that you've become. They loved you with everything they had. But fate did not allow things to play out that way. Your father was the one that sealed the 9 tails inside of you. I believe myself there are many factors. Your father believed in you. He believed that you were the one that can do it. That is something I have no doubt about. He knew that you were his son and that you would weather through it. And just like your mother, you would be able to get past this because you were their child. But I failed to see that by lying to you, the burden that this would put on you would be so great. I thought I was doing what was best for you. I thought I was doing what was necessary. Your father had so many enemies, and if this information was to ever leak, they would come after you. And despite how protective you are, it could not be 24/7 because if it was, you would never have get to live your life. Your life would have been hassle and chaos all the time. There are people out there, things that your father had to do in order to make sure that the future of Konoha was safe. Things that he had to do to the war. Things that he had to do to people in the war. Things that was necessary to protect his home. But most on the opposite side did not see it like that. To them, he's a bloodthirsty enemy that slaughtered thousands of them. He's the enemy that would not stop. He's the enemy that buried their mother, their father, their children, their brothers. He's that enemy in their eyes. So they would have hunted you until their last breath. And that would have simply changed every aspect of your life. And I didn't want that. And I thought, allowing you to go on in arrogance was for the best. Allowing you to not understand why the villagers feel the way that they do. Because I'm afraid that all they see when they look at you right now is their loved ones that they lost. I know it's hard. Many lost a lot on that night. I as well. I lost my wife. But I had to step up. On the same night I lost my wife, I had to step up. And I understand the pain that they're feeling. Many of them are still not over the grief of the loved ones that they lost. And it is also fear. They love and trust their former Hokage, but the fear of knowing that the beast might one day rage chaos on this village again, it has gripped them so tightly that they're afraid to make a move. Hiruzen said with a sad sigh. Naruto leaned back, gazing at the ceiling, before he got up and gazed over the village, looking through the massive window. So that's it. The whole truth. Yes, Hiruzen said. I suppose as a leader, you did what you thought was right. Naruto's words were specific. Hiruzen noticed that. I myself am aware that I'm not strong enough to beat everyone. In fact, I had to make sure that Mizuki was going to be down. I'm not confident in my strength to beat him hand to hand. I had to make sure that I used what was at my disposal, to use every advantage I had. Hiruzen was shocked by hearing Naruto's thoughts, not to mention what Aruka had said. Not a soul will hear from me who my father is until I am confident in myself, that I can properly protect myself without dying. And as I see myself now, I'm not even 5% close to be able to do something like that. I'm angry at you, said Naruto, for the lies and the deceit. However, as I tried to put myself in your shoes and try to think what I would do with a grown-up state of mind to protect a child, I wonder to myself, would I make the same choice? Some part of me is telling me no, and that I should hate you, and I should hate all of them because They're putting something on me that I am not responsible for. A part of me is telling me that I should not care if they look at me and see the beast because I'm not the goddamn Nine Tails. And as I stand here, I'm conflicted on which part I should believe. And I cannot give you an answer. Hiruzen fear that something like this might happen. You say that my father had a reason. You say that he knew something that perhaps we don't. Then again, you don't know that. I don't know that. I'm really tired. Tonight was hard. Can I go home and get some rest? Hiruzen nodded. Wait, he said. He reached for something. As he pulled it out of his dex and tossed it to Naruto, Naruto caught it. Why? He said. I failed. There are many excuses, many different parameters for one to pass the graduation test. In the past, there has been some who lack the necessity of making a clone as well. But to this day, they're ninjas. You have shown me that you are more than capable of taking on this challenge. I know you are, he said. As much as I pretend I do not know everything, Hiruzen said. I do not know what the future lies. I do not know what your mind will sway tomorrow. I do not know how you would see things, but I know. One thing is for certain. You have the drive and the proper mindset to become one of the greatest ninjas that this village has ever seen, Hiruzen said. After finding out that Naruto was able to learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu and an A-rank wing technique in a night, that was frightening, yes it was. And Hiruzen saw it, the potential, the drive. He did not know what will fuel Naruto tomorrow, or how he would feel, but he believed that. Time skip. As Naruto lay in his bed, gazing up towards the ceiling, Hiruzen was right about that. Naruto himself did not quite know how he was going to feel. No, he did not. Because, despite everything that he was told, despite how everything might seem reasonable in others' eyes, he did not see it that way. He was angry. He felt betrayed. He felt robbed of his childhood because his father decided to take it and protect the village, leaving him an orphan and alone. Most would think that it was black and white, that he should be proud of what his father did, but he did not. Naruto did not understand this bullshit of land of fire, will of fire and all of that. He didn't have that. Perhaps he was missing that update or something, but he did not. So he didn't understand how could you sacrifice your family? How could you sacrifice your blood? Hokage or not? He just couldn't understand it. It was conflicted and confusing to him. So Hiruzen was right. He would not go at it straight. Because he himself did not know. As he looked at the headband in his hand, he tossed it over towards the night table and lie there. Perhaps tomorrow would give him some answers. He fell asleep. When Naruto opened his eyes the next morning, it was like routine. However, he had to stop himself, remembering that he needed to go to the academy today. He didn't want to tire himself out. He wasn't quite aware what was going to happen. Usually he exercised in the morning. He was still wearing his weights under his normal clothing. As he was still wearing the baggy clothing, hiding his true physique. Because he was different. Removing that, as Naruto stood in the mirror, he's gotten quite muscular and lean for his age. Not overly big, but you can see the difference. Even his face was different. However, due to him wearing a high-collar shirt, his face was obscured and his view was hidden from most. Time skip. When Naruto walked into the class, Many were surprised. It was a good thing that wasn't the entire class. Some had not been here on time. Well, it was a bit early, but not that much. No longer wearing that baggy shirt. He was dressed in a long-sleeved black shirt with a brown jacket over it. His face was on full view right now. So was his entire physique. He's gotten taller due to his proper diet. Shock, many of the girls were. Who is that? One of them questioned. Naruto had been so antisocial, so cut off from everyone else that people barely noticed his presence. Almost like he was some kind of ghost most of the times. Well, to these normal kids, they lacked the necessity of tracking or detecting something that didn't want to be detected. Ino Yamanaka was amongst them, rather shocked by... Wait, what was his name again? She couldn't quite recall his name as he proceeded to sit down and gaze through the window, ignoring everyone like he usually do, as he didn't really pay attention or speak to anyone. He did talk in class, but not in a way that would draw attention most times. That could be good or bad. The bad part was, he didn't really have friends. Aruka eventually came. Seemed to still be a bit sore from yesterday. However, he seemed most of fine. It was a good thing that none of them asked for Mizuki. When Aruka saw Naruto, he gave him a nod, perhaps a sign of understanding, that he knew. But Naruto did not follow up that much. As the names were called, Naruto's name was finally announced. Finally, Ino recalled it. However, he was placed on Team 7 along with Sasuke Uchiha and her rival, Sakura Haruno. Sakura was happy, but she blinked. Who was Naruto, she wondered. She didn't know a Naruto. She questioned the girl beside her, who shrugged her shoulders. Sakura decided to not focus on that though, because she got what she wanted, and she was happy. As the classroom started to file out, one after another the groups left, leaving only 3. So, he's Naruto. I've never seen him before, Sakura thought to herself, having never seen this version of Naruto before, and she believed that it was a new person entirely. Sasuke, though, was well aware of who that was. Sasuke had fought Naruto before, actually 3 times, and each time, Sasuke felt like he was fighting someone that was underestimating him, like someone that was stronger and was simply toying with him. He had no idea why he got that feeling, because in the academy he was the best. There was no boy that could defeat him, no girl. He was number 1. So why did he got that strange feeling? He had absolutely no idea why. However, Sasuke was surprised by the change, being one of the few to actually take note of Naruto. The change that came all of a sudden was rather surprised. And if he was not mistaken, he had no headband yesterday when he was leaving. Sasuke shrugged his shoulders, focusing on something that did not desire his focus too much was not his problem. As Sakura got to her feet and made her way towards Naruto, she stopped in front of his desk. "Hi there," she said. "We're in the same class, but I don't think that we've ever spoken to one another." "I'm Sakura Haruno," she said, as she extended her hand towards him. Naruto looked at the hand for about 10 seconds without even saying a word. Sakura started to become a bit nervous as Naruto started to reach towards his weapon pouch. He was going to do something. Remember, he always had a reason. Well, he always has a reason. As Naruto simply gazed at the girl in front of him. His next action, though, got Sasuke jumping out of his seat in shock. Sasuke. But guys, to be ends episode right here. If you want to see next part, you already know what to do, guys. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.